Police in London is a huge responsibility and a great challenge, and it's important that we recognise all those officers who work so tirelessly to keep us safe. But the MPS has experienced a series of deeply troubling issues that must not be ignored, and it's clearer than ever that the organisation is in need of reform. Baroness Louise Casey has begun her independent review into culture and standards within the MPS. The Right Honourable Dame Elish Angioloni has also started her independent inquiry into the death of Sarah Everard. I fully endorse and support their important work. The Met Police Service itself must develop, with Londoners, an urgent plan to rebuild the trust and confidence of the people they serve, to root out the racism, sexism, homophobia, bullying, discrimination, misogyny that clearly still exists within the force. The recruitment process for the new Commissioner is led by the Home Secretary in consultation with me as Mayor of London. It's important that the community has some role in the appointment process, and I'll be holding discussions with the Home Office as to how this can be achieved. I've been clear with the Home Secretary that the new Commissioner must clearly demonstrate that they understand and accept the scale of the cultural problems within the MPS and the urgency with which they must be addressed. In short, they need to get it, and they need to have a proper and robust plan to deal with it. Part of this must be a clear and deep commitment to working with communities to shape reform. I've been working hard to begin some reform of the MPS along these lines, with community involvement in new recruitment pathways and community-led training for officers. I'll work with the new Commissioner to deepen community involvement in policing as reform of the MPS continues at pace. The need for reform is not simply limited to the MPS. Sir Tom Windsor, Her Majesty's Chief Inspector of Constabulary, has stated this in his recent State of Policing report. There must be a national discussion on policing reform, and this should include consideration of training, misconduct proceedings, whistleblowing structures and the use of social media. Ultimately, the police must be held to account by the public who they serve. As the Police and Crime Commissioner, I'm committed to supporting the police while also challenging them to improve, holding them to account and ensuring Londoners receive the police service they deserve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now, I'm particularly interested in how Londoners fit in here. People I speak with are shocked and horrified by the continuing stream of disgraceful revelations about the culture in the Met and the behaviour of some officers. And these revelations have just kept coming, and rather than welcoming them as evidence of rooting out the bad apples and even the bad barrels, the communication from the Met has felt defensive, which appears to have worsened trust and confidence. So I think this goes beyond the need to simply change the Commissioner. Now, I understand that you've consulted with a few thousand Londoners out of 10 million on your police and crime plan. But do you agree there's still an urgent need to get Londoners more on board so they can contribute to establishing what policing by consent looks like in a diverse city like London with our inclusive values?
Well, you raised a number of issues, and I know time is short, so I'll try and address them briefly. So, although more than 4,000 responded to the police and crime plan, we consulted widely. And it's really important to understand the impact the top house on the ethos and values of an organisation, including comms from the MPS. And I think what you're highlighting is the need for the new Commissioner to what I call get it. Mm-hmm. That includes taking on board your concerns that as an experienced elected politician who speaks regularly on a daily basis to Londoners who are concerned. And Londoners, are pro-police, but they need the police to understand there are challenges. We're not a perfect police service, and we need to address that.
Yeah, I mean, we know that there are so many Londoners, black Londoners, LGBT Londoners and women who have lost trust and confidence in a really fundamental way, particularly over these last weeks. Now, earlier on, as well as yesterday at PCC, Assembly Member Moema raised the case of Child Q and the need for the Met to work with local groups like Hackney Account, whose work I've raised with you earlier on in this Assembly term. Now, they've been highlighting the problems with disproportionality in stop and search, let alone strip search. Now, I think you need to be working more with groups like them. Now, in your press release this morning, it said that you and the Commissioner would drive the cultural change and the reforms that are needed. You consulted people on the police and crime plan, but you didn't consult them on reform. Do you agree that we need Londoners to lead a conversation about what policing by consent means in our city?
That's not true, though, is it? I mean, the action plan in the summer that George Floyd was killed was a wide consultation and engagement with community groups across London, including in Hackney. So I think it's important to give credit where it's due. Dr. W. X. Bernard, Sophie Linden spent weeks getting across London, speaking to, listening to, engaging with community groups, And the action plan on accountability, transparency and trust in policing was developed after extensive consultation with community groups, virtually and in person. I think it does nobody any favours by sweeping generalisations that simply aren't true.
Mr. Mayor, obviously there is, there is good work going on, but I think what I'm talking about is a really sweeping step change in approach to working with the communities in London who have experienced disproportionality, have lost the trust and confidence with the police. We actually, I hope that you see that it isn't just about who leads the Met, but it's about a need to reset that relationship between Londoners and the people who are policing us.
I accept that, and that's one of the reasons why I don't accept is if you're on apples or if you're wrong uns. There are deep cultural issues that demand change, and that's one of the reasons, again, the chair of the Met Police Federation may not like it, but that's one of the reasons why I lost confidence in the Commissioner.
Well, thank you. I look forward to that deep conversation with Londoners, because I think it's really needed.